Happy post-Thanksgiving. I hope everyone was able to enjoy the time with their family, eat well, healthy, a lot more. If not, like me, I was traveling. I was in Minnesota. I still got a chance to enjoy it with my teammates with the Clippers. Also smoked a lot of cigars that day at my boys' spot in Minnesota. So I was still able to enjoy it. Again, follow us. Follow the show at Jim Jackson Show, YouTube, on IG, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate all the support. And wanted to touch base real quick. I'm on the road right now. I love being in the studio, but right now it's college basketball season. So I just got off the road and I did the Kansas at Creighton game. Now I have a game Saturday, an interstate rivalry game between Wisconsin and Marquette. And it got me thinking about the state of college basketball real quick. I want to touch on it. It's different. I think with NIL and what's going on, it makes it a lot more challenging for coaches to coach in a couple of different reasons. One, because of the transfer portal, which I do embrace and I do endorse. I think the young men and women should have an option to be able to pursue another opportunity if one is not working. Now, with all that being said, it's not because, the coach is too hard on me or whatever. That's the part I don't like. Ask a Baker Mayfield, ask a Joe Burrow, ask some other quarterbacks who have transferred and they found success. What's my quarterback at Philly? He also was able to leave, and then Jalen Hurts, to get out of a situation and get into a better situation. I'm all for that. Now, maybe the 2, 3, 4 time transfer, that's a little tough because it stretches out the program. Because now coaches, and I saw this with UCLA, not really recruiting high school players anymore. Unless you're a Cooper Flag or a player like that came out that's the number one recruit and a potential pro, of course you're going to recruit. But now coaches are saying, I don't need the high school guy anymore. I need to go out to the transfer portal, get me a seasoned player that can come and help my team win right away. I want to get older and stay older. Well, now you have continuity issues. Teams, with a lot of transfers don't actually make the fit right away, so it takes a little bit more. Now you got to promise to pay NIL money. Not only that, with coaches, you got to re-recruit your own players. Now, I'm all for guys getting paid, for females getting paid, get it. But it has to be some kind of balance. And right now, the way the structure, the infrastructure, the NIL and the transfer portal is set up, is not a lot of regulations, no regulation really. So what Alabama does compared to UCLA, to Ohio State, to Michigan is totally different, depending on what they want to do. I think it's another 2 to 3 year period of all these things coming together within college sports so we can have all this data to say what works, what doesn't, and then from there kind of put some parameters in place that make it so that the young men and women benefit from their name, likeness, and image, but that also these universities, our TV partners that are paying for the product itself, and we're really talking about basketball and football. Okay, there's men and women's basketball and football. That the product is secure, because right now what's happening, I think it's beginning to get a little watered down because of all of the uncertainty of what's happening. Okay. And it's not a perfect scenario, but I do think it's a solution. But I don't think the solution is around the corner, because at the beginning, when NIL was set in, it was all about name, likeness, and image, that a young man or woman could earn money based off of who they are, their superstardom, their potential. But nobody saw coming that you would have a third party that would come into play where you actually raise money to be able to go out and recruit and pay players. That wasn't a part of the equation. That wasn't part of the thought process. And now that's a whole different challenge. So the premise of NIL, which I'm all for, was name, likeness, and image, student athletes able to earn money off of that. Perfect. And I think when they instituted the NCAA that this was going to be available and not put parameters around it with regards to how much there's a cap you can earn. No, if you can go out and earn $2, $3, $4 million, you'll get it. But what they didn't see was the collective. which is the collective is a third-party operation within the university that now actually raises money to go out and recruit and pay players. And now you can say, well, player A over here, if you come to this university, I can guarantee you X amount of dollars based on the collective, okay, and what we can raise. Now, one of the challenges is that the collective has a lot of power. And what I mean by that is that if, say, from a basketball perspective, you have a budget of $2 million, okay? They can pretty much dictate or try to dictate to the university and to the coaches who should get paid and how much and when and how long. And that develops a conflict as well, in particular when you're going through a coaching change, because the collective has a lot of insight into maybe who they want the coaches or the new coach to be, because they're raising money. Now, that collective also raises money via current donors, maybe some new donors, new sponsors. So this whole thing has gotten so much bigger than what the initial thought process was of name, likeness, and image. And I just believe you need another 2 to 3 years of collecting data to figure out what's right, what's not working right, and how do we put regulations around where the student athletes still can benefit off of this, but now the product doesn't get affected as much. Because at the end of the day, football and basketball, men and women's basketball, football is making the money. TV is paying for those three sports, really football, but then basketball comes after that. So the product on the court has to be viable. And to do that, these things have to be put in place where now the players that are playing, the coaches that are coaching, they have some kind of continuity. And, you know, it's a tough role right now for everyone involved, but that's the state in what we're in. And being in college basketball, I've seen the changes over the years. This is year 18 for me of covering college basketball. And it's a lot different, trust me, than what it was 5 years ago compared to that. So just wanted to drop that just because I'm in the midst of college basketball season, but also in the midst of, which I love right now on the NBA side, is the Emirates Cup. It kind of just like before, when it was the play-in tournament at the end of the year, people were fighting against it because, you know, you always fight against change. Change is like, oh, we don't want to do that. Change is like, we don't like that. Okay. But in the end of the day, it gave you more intrigue. It allowed for teams that were in a 12th position, but only a game and a half out, to still be within shouting distance, to be able to get to 10 and be in the play. But it also caused the team that was in 6th, that was a game and a half up, to not be able to just rest for the last week and a half, because if they lose some games, now they drop to 7th and they're in the play. So it gave you that kind of intrigue. And I think that's what's happening right now with the Emirates Cup, is that the in-season tournament modeled off of soccer and European basketball gives you a little something different, a little spark. In particular with basketball this year, I know everybody's talking about the ratings were down or are down. Now, this was an election year, so a lot of that, I believe, played into it. Again, you're always going up against college football and NFL, a lot of intrigue in both of those things. But what the Emirates Cup does, it separates on Tuesdays and Thursdays the regular season from this little iteration of an in-season tournament, okay? By instituting the uniforms, changing the courts, it designates something is different. It does that. I feel that when we have our games at home or when we went to Minnesota, the Clippers, it felt like a different game during the regular season. And that's what the NBA wanted. And I think players feel that as well, is that when they go into these games, at first they thought it was a gimmick, but now it feels real. Feels real. You're able to go and play in Vegas. And let me tell you about gimmicks. Back before the ABA and the NBA merged, ABA needed gimmicks. They needed the three-point shooting. NBA didn't like it. They needed the slam dunk contest. NBA didn't like it. They needed in-house entertainment, cheerleaders, musicians, all kind of stuff going on in between timeouts and at halftime. Guess who finally adopted? The NBA. So what you think is a gimmick sometimes is just resistant to change but that resistance holds you back. I applaud the NBA for trying to be a little bit different and fight the stigma of staying the same because you can't. So I look forward to see what's happening now that things have shaped out. We're a day beyond the last games of the Emirates Cup, but to see how things shake out. So I can't wait. I think it just bleeds right into the season, which has been up to this point a little uncertain because of the number of injuries to key players. Hopefully the health starts to turn around where we can see those individuals, because we all want to see the stars play, get back on board so the NBA can really pick up. And we're getting close to Christmas time, and that's our time when we're national TV in front of everybody. I know NFL has a primetime game on that Thursday, but it's all about NBA then. So hopefully our stars will be back in place and we can pick up the season where we thought it would be, with the stars in there playing and playing well. And then that leading on to a dynamic season, because we don't know, besides Boston, OKC getting healthy, where this is going to lead come time in April when we start to get to the playoffs, and ultimately in June for another NBA championship. As promised, my really good friend and actually hungry individual sitting here eating and drinking in his office in Miami, which he's never at, but my good friend, great friend, Alonzo Mourning. Hold on, before we get into it, you were walking me through some of the memorabilia that you got up there. I mean, just the collectible items. You had one with Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali signed glove.
Yeah. The boxing glove signed by Muhammad Ali. One of my treasured pictures of me and Bill Russell on the golf course.
Is that Big John up top? Is that John Thompson up top?
Yeah. And this is also another picture of me and Bill. Him handing me the Defensive Player of the Year trophy.
What year was that?
I think that was 99, 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so when you look at that, when you look at that stuff, and you kind of look at it now, like back at the time, getting those pictures, it was like, okay, you're getting stuff. But as you're further away from the career and doing different things, and you now look at it, does it take on a different connotation, a different meaning now that you're 54 and it's a different time in your life?
Yeah. As we get older, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man, that we reach a point where we start valuing those moments that we take for granted for all those years, those relationships, those experiences, all those things, and to look around, I got another couple other pieces on the wall here, man, that I'll take them off the wall, but and a couple other people, this, Ebony magazine cover of, President Obama. He personally signs it to Alonzo. Thanks for the friendship. And I mean, that's one of my treasures. And then also, this is pretty unique here, is a New York Times crossword puzzle that Bill Clinton filled out. And my name was in the crossword puzzle. So what he did was, if you look closely, this is his
right there.
Yeah, that's his stationery. He wrote me a personal note, and many of y'all don't know, but Bill Clinton went to Georgetown Law School, and President Clinton, man, sent me a personal note and said, "Hey, I thought you might like this." Dropped it in the mail. This was folded up in an envelope. And he sent it to me, man. So I took it and I framed it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Bill Clinton. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So when you think about relationships and your moments in your life, and I reach a certain point now in my life where I don't take those things for granted, man. I really don't. It's truly a blessing. If God forbid, my life ends today, I have lived an incredible incredible life, and had a chance to travel the world and develop some amazing relationships, and I'm very grateful and thankful for those moments, and I try to every morning, man, just get up and just show gratitude. I really do, more than I have ever before, because this last year, the year it's almost over with, 2024, but it was a rough year for me. I lost a couple of dear friends of mine. I was diagnosed with, prostate cancer, stage 3 prostate cancer. So I caught it early. I mean, I ended up getting a bacterial infection, man. It almost cost me, losing, my transplanted kidney, so it's just a lot of things happened this year, and I'm still here by the grace of God, so I just, every morning I wake up, I meditate for about 10, 15 minutes, and I show gratitude as much as I can for, God getting me to this particular point in my life.
It's ironic. So we talk a lot about, when we take our trips, when we're sitting around talking about having some cigars, about life and how basketball has gotten us to this point. We never would have thought about this back in high school, college, or even starting our career, about the doors in which the game opened and the people that we met via the game. So as you reflect back on your career, and I know the Defensive Player of the Year, Hall of Fame, the NBA championship in 2006, but the bigger picture, it seems like to me, is that the game allowed you to grow and mature, meet, travel, and experience things that you probably would not have in that magnitude if the game wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. The game of basketball set an amazing stage for my life as it is today. The game of basketball not only allowed me to travel the world, but it allowed me to take care of my family, financially, across the board, mother, father, to, show my appreciation for them, financially, and support them and show them a better life. The people that I love, those that made a significant investment in my life, because I'm a strong believer that life is about the relationships, and knowing that in those relationships, we're all here because of other people's contributions. And I'm a product of that. I truly am. Grew up in foster care, a transplant recipient from a family member. So my college coach, was one of my, most instrumental teachers. My high school coach was a father figure to me. I mean, the list goes on, man. It's just the investments that were made in my life, so I think about how basketball has impacted my life, and from that perspective, so, now I reached a point now in my life where I'm like, Jesus Christ, this has been a pretty much part of my life's work, is just paying it forward, because all those people that made those contributions through the game of basketball and through this life that I've had, through this journey that I've taken, I think about all those contributions that I've made. I'd be doing, them a disservice if I did not pay it forward, so that's why, my foundation has grown to the point that it has, over the past, 20, 25 years.
25 years? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 5 years, man. We've been doing the work that we've been doing in the community, providing educational opportunities and enrichment services and holistic services, wraparound services, and health and wellness, initiatives, all of these things, tied around lifting up impoverished families in very challenged areas, especially here in South Florida.
Well, but that just goes to why, now you're on your second building of the Overtown Youth Center, because you outgrew the first one. But it seems like that all of that you just talked about presented the opportunity, but also made you look at the bigger picture, and why OYC is such a big dynamic, and a little bit about OYC, the Community Health Center, and people that don't understand where the Overtown community once was for Black individuals back in the 30s, 40s, 50s who couldn't travel and stay in Miami. They had to stay in Overtown. A lot of the entertainers, actors had to stay there because of the segregation. So it's an older Black community, and you went in there.
It used to be called Colored Town. That's what
Colored
it was called.
Town, right?
Yeah. It was the history of this particular area in downtown Miami. And it was the only place that, the likes of Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, all these entertainers, Muhammad Ali, who worked out on the 5th Street Gym, used to jog across the causeway, from downtown, to the 5th Street Gym in Miami Beach. And then you had, all these Black pioneers and jazz artists and entertainers that performed at the Fountain Blue back then. And they were given a card that allowed them to cross the bridge, but they couldn't stay there after they performed. They had to come back over the bridge, man. So that was during segregation. So Overtown has so much history, and unfortunately, the riots kind of brought it down, crime and drugs and things of that nature, and now it's going through a huge revitalization, which the elected officials are trying to preserve the history. They're trying to preserve the history of Overtown, and they're doing a tremendous job. And ironically, we're talking today at this moment about it. I trying to do my best to preserve the history and provide housing for the natives in South Florida, because people that are born here, people are born in these inner city areas, man, they're being gentrified, slowly being gentrified, and what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to develop affordable housing. And today we broke ground on the second affordable housing project in Overtown through me and my partners with Housing Trust Group. And I formed my own company, AM Affordable Housing, and together we've developed throughout the state of Florida over 10 affordable housing projects. So this is going to be 120 units and 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, and it's been a blessing, because I understand the need, not just here in South Florida, but across the country, thinking about the shortage of affordable housing across the country from the standpoint of 7 million right here in South Florida. There's a shortage of 90,000 affordable houses, and we're trying to put a dent in those statistics. The first one that I built was 84 units. We had 3,000 applicants for 84 units. It was unbelievable. So what we've done here, we created an incredible model. We've been recognized by HUD as one of the top affordable housing development companies in the country. And we're very grateful because of the quality of work that we do. Perspective. I had friends of mine visit some of the projects we've done, and they can't believe how high end it is, but listen, people deserve the best, and my name and my reputation is all on the line as it pertains to these developments, so I want people to be safe. I want people to age with dignity, and I want people to grow their families, in a safe and clean and high-end environment. They deserve it. They truly do,
Yeah, and one of the challenges too with the affordable housing thing, I think that because it's such a need, but also you need median and market rate income. Housing to have income to be able to spend money. Because one of the biggest detriments, I think, to the Black community was desegregation, and I say that because during the time of segregation, if you look at the laundromats, if you look at the doctors, the lawyers, the pharmacies, all of the ancillary businesses, because Blacks lived there, the dollar circulated 10, 11, 12, 20 times in the community. So those ancillary support mechanisms had income, okay? Yep. And you had housing, you had Black people making money that could contribute. When segregation happened too, a lot of that money left the community. And as a result, your parks and rec, you don't have the tax base anymore. The retail around it began to suffer. So as we build back to Central City, It's not only with the affordable housing, getting people in there, you got to figure out ways with these construction costs to get market rate housing in there, people that have income. So now they can support all those ancillary businesses that need to be back in there. So that's why I say what you're doing, because you're so connected close to downtown with OYC and everything over there, that it spills right in there. And what I found talking to you too, Zoe, is that you had a passion for helping kids. But it was, if I don't help the families too, the families, the support mechanisms, then it's, you got to do both. You just can't separate one or the other, right?
No, you're totally right, man. At-risk kids go home to at-risk situations, you know. So what we've done through this model of ours, you know, and first of all, for those of you all listening, 25 years producing events, fundraising events, you know, to support educational initiatives and provide support to children and families.
Zoe Summer Groove, baby.
Yeah, Zoe Summer Groove was 16 years, you know, over the years, a big production company. Outside of all of that, you know, we created some momentum behind the work that we were doing, and our statistics and identifying these obstacles in these children's lives, breaking down those barriers, you know, inspiring, empowering, enriching, and exposing these children and families, you know, and getting them across the finish line, walking through the doors of a school, breaking down the challenges of just attendance, getting them to the school to walk across the stage with a diploma in their hand, you know. So we graduate in our program, we graduate 100% of our kids from high school. 90% of our kids go to college and graduate. They start in our program at age 5, and we follow them through direct services all the way to age 25. So over the years now, we've had kids that have started my program at age 5 that have graduated from college, and now they're working for us. They're part of our staff. You know, they might be one of our coordinators, you know, or one of our front office managers as well, you know, or they could be actually a teacher in some of our kids that have graduated. They've come back and they're actually teachers in the building that we have. We got a 56,000 square foot facility in there in the city. It started as an 18,000 square foot facility, and we tripled the size because, like you said earlier, we grew out of it, you know. So it's a $9 million budget a year to sustain the work we're doing. All the services that we provide, all the wraparound services with the charter schools that we have in here, you know, as well as the 14 feeder schools, all of the services that we provide, whether it be health and wellness and in school, after school mentoring, homework tutorial, you name it, you know, sports, the arts, dance studio, music studio, STEM lab. I mean, you name it. All of these things that we have in there, the community doesn't pay one dime. You know, so we go out and raise all the money to sustain that work, you know. But getting back to your point about, you know, having, you know, the funding coming to the community, you know, now, you know, we have identified tax dollars, subsidies, you know, which has allowed us, you know, to try to preserve some of what you were talking about, you know, the businesses, as well as, you know, putting affordable housing there, you know, so that the folks from that community won't be forced out because of the property costs and what have you. I think the actual center itself has become a hub where people are able to go there for all family resources free of charge, you know, so that helps as well. That helps provide support to the family as well in these inner cities. When you think about this model, I envision Jewish community centers across the country, and there's over 350 Jewish community centers across the country. And I say to myself, I'm like, wow, you know, we don't have a place for people of color to go and find refuge and get resources and what have you, you know. And the JCCs are open to people of all races. And same thing with my center. It's open to people of all races, you know, but we're predominantly in a community of color. And we've been fortunate enough, you know, to change a lot of the statistics. And when I first came to the community and we built that center, you know, 2 out of 12 graduated from high school, you know, now that statistic has changed tremendously, and I like to think a lot of it is due to our help. So throughout all of our corporate partnerships and partnerships with Miami-Dade County Public Schools and all that, which allows us to do the work we do in the school, after school, and in the summertime, there is a consistent positive voice of influence in these kids' lives, which has allowed us to get the positive statistics that we have as an organization. So I'm very grateful that basketball has kind of created all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It truly has. It's created all that. It's just given me an opportunity to be a philanthropic leader in the community. It's given me an opportunity to be a businessman in the community, by understanding the ins and outs of development and what have you, and tapping into government subsidies as well, that kind of help me build these communities up and kind of preserve the history of a lot of these communities instead of them being just totally taken over and gentrified.
Well, I love it, man, because I'm going to put a button on that too, because of what you're doing, and it's steadily growing, because that can be used as a template and a model to kind of duplicate in other central cities all the time, because the private-public relationship is there.
Mm-hmm.
And that model can be, whether depending on size-wise of that community, it can be expanded, it can be shrunk, but the essence of the programming that you have.
To your point, well, first and foremost, I'm very grateful for the program that I adopted and replicated the model years ago. Back in 2022, I met this gentleman by the name of Tony Hobson in Portland, Oregon. SEI was an organization, and I was referred to them by some Nike executives, because I was a Nike athlete back then. I didn't know anything about running an after-school program. So I was introduced to Tony. I flew him and his staff out from Portland, Oregon. They helped me implement that culture in the Overtown Youth Center, and then the rest was history. We just grew from there, and it was about identifying the right who with this whole process. That's what it was all about, But I'm going to tell you, to your point, this being a template, we've already shown that we can replicate this model because we already did it from the other side of the country. What I need is seed. I need an Amazon. I need a Microsoft. I need them coming in and to give me seeds so I can drop these and strategically put these across the country in a lot of different inner cities, which needs the help in Chicago, in Springfield, Missouri. I mean, the list goes on. If we can really strategically, provide these type of services in the inner cities, because there's such a grave need across the country, even across South Florida, where people call us and asking us, "Hey, when are we coming to your community?" But it's hard. I wish I could clone myself, man. I really do, man, because the need is tremendous, and I wish I just had seed money. Mm-hmm. Or I had pesos type dollars, and I could just start replicating these across the country because of the need.
No, I'm with you, man, because I know in Toledo, Ohio, we're working on some things, and this is very critical because of the youth there, education-wise, because the central city's been decimated from an educational perspective, a health perspective. We're partnering with the health organization to do some good things in the neighborhood. But, man, you keep doing what you're doing. You touched on the wellness part of it, too. And we were talking offline before you got on. Yeah. What's the challenge with Black men going to get tested? And you've been through from the kidney, from the prostate, and your advice would be to what?
Be proactive. Truly be proactive with your health. You think about people of color, we lead in a lot of statistics: heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease. African Americans account for 35% of all kidney failure cases. Think about that. There's over 37 million people who are dealing with chronic kidney disease. And African Americans account for 35% of kidney failure cases. So you think about the millions and millions of people who suffer from chronic kidney, and a lot of which, if we went to the doctor on a regular basis, we can kind of identify and stay on top of the things that we need to do in order to make the adjustments as it pertains to our diet and exercise and what have you. And then you got to think of diabetes and hypertension, people that are pre-diabetic, and instead of going about your life and not knowing that you're pre-diabetic and ignoring some of the signs and symptoms, getting a once a year checkup, getting a blood test, you get getting your PSA checked, after the age of 45, 50 years old. I caught mine early. I got my PSA checked at 52, and, if I would have gotten it checked at 49 or 50, they would have caught it even earlier that I had, prostate cancer. So I was very fortunate enough that it did not spread. And God knows, things would have been dramatically different for me. I would have had to take chemo and I would have had to take radiation or what have you, but they were able to take it out, which has altered my life and I'm still healing. But, the devastation of the cancer spreading was eliminated because I was proactive with my health and I went and saw the nephrologist and what have you. And I just got a simple blood test. Then getting your cholesterol checked, things of that nature, that we as people of color, we eat a lot of fried foods, a lot of foods with a lot of dairy, and we eat a lot of inflammatory foods, which weakens our immune system and causes
the mucus.
cancer.
The mucus is huge.
Mucus, all of that stuff, So if you're doing it every day for the rest of your life, if you're eating inflammatory foods, if you're eating animal products every day on a regular basis, eventually something's got to give. Your body's like, hold up, and then you're not exercising. You're not drinking enough water. You're not, not doing what you have to do to take care of your body. So people of color, unfortunately, we have been victims of a lot of these statistics, and it's important for us, especially men of color. It's important for us to kind of be a little bit more proactive and take better care of ourselves health-wise.
No, I love it, man. So all the brothers that are tuning into this, take your health serious. Go get those checkups. Don't be afraid of the old saying of the doctor you don't trust. But those numbers are going to tell you something more than anything else, and it's better that you know sooner than later. Listen, I want to dig real quick too. But we've known each other. What?
More important, Jimmy, I'm gonna tell you. You know what, men, and I'm speaking directly to men.
Mm-hmm.
There are several reasons why we don't go to the doctor. We don't go to the doctor because of embarrassment. We don't want to be transparent with the doctors while we're there so they can really give us the proper care that they need to give us, So it's things that we don't want to talk to them about because we don't trust them as well, especially if they don't look like us. So it's important that we find a doctor that we can trust, that we can be open with so they can give you the correct diagnosis and what have you. Outside of that, man, listen, nobody can do it for you. You have to be an active participant in your own health as men. I'm tired of seeing, friends of mine, dealing with these health obstacles that, that could have been prevented, and I'm speaking to you based on my own personal testimony. Okay. Because both of my particular situations were caught because I had a routine physical. Okay. My kidney disease, when I was playing, we had to take preseason physicals. They found out I had kidney disease. Otherwise, I would have ignored it. Okay. Second, all right, my prostate cancer, I found out because I went to my urologist. For those that you don't know what a urologist is, it's a doctor that that is for men that that takes care of your prostate. Okay,
that tickle you a little bit.
Yeah, whatever. Now you don't have to worry about the finger anymore.
I know. See, that's why a lot of men didn't want to go in there and get it because they was worried about the finger.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore now, but something going somewhere. You know what I'm saying? To test it. It ain't the finger no more, but it's something.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so listen, I'm grateful that I'm here to share this message. I truly am, because, the life is nothing if you don't have your health. I don't care how big your car is, how nice your house is, how nice your clothes are. None of that means anything. You can have all the money in the world, okay? But if you don't have your health, you have nothing, brother, all right? And the thing about your health, people take it for granted until it's your health. Yeah. All right, so stay on top of your health, be proactive.
Listen, the people are going to listen to this and they go, really, because you've been through it. You understand it. So I want to jump back really quick on a couple things. Past history, basketball-wise, some of your greatest moments. But 2006, when you guys won a championship, and a lot of times we always talk about winning a championship and what does that mean? But there's context to that.
Right.
Would it have meant more to win it, let's say, when you were in prime time position, when there was the Alonzo Mourning of 98, 99, 2000, Miami, more so than the sub? I mean, and I asked that question because people talk about that. Like, hey, I was on the team and I contributed, but it's not like it was before when I was kind of like option number one. Any difference between the two? Like, if you would have won it in 2002, being Alonzo Mourning compared to being a complimentary piece in 06. Does it separate the championship of what the meaning is or how it feels?
No, it doesn't, because I was an active participant in helping us win that. You know, it's not like I was just sitting on the bench just cheering. Mm-hmm. You know, I was actually a part of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was at a stage where my body had a physical obstacle, you know, that affected the decline of some of my play, but I knew that I could still make an impact, you know. And I had just come off of a kidney transplant. 2003, we won in 2006. I had just come off a kidney transplant. But, you know, through my will and through the grace of God, you know, I was able to, you know, get myself back in excellent basketball shape and come back and play again and contribute, you know. So I think I appreciated it more at the age of 36 than I would have if I was 28.
Just because of everything that you've been through.
Because of everything I went through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You think of everything that I went through, for sure, I appreciated so much more. I was so grateful, man, because you never know you're going to win one until you win one, until it happens. Now, you can look great on paper at the beginning of the year. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to win one, you know, but you never know that you're going to win one until you're going to win one. You know,
till you win it.
Yeah, until you win it. We were very fortunate. To win in 2006 because there were moments, man, especially in the finals, we were down 0-2. We had to win 4 games in a row, and because of the heroics of D. Wade, you know, and obviously we had a bunch of guys that contributed at the right time, and GP and hitting that shot in game 3, you know, it's just, you know, J-Dub, you know, having an incredible finals for us, you know, moments in the game. You know, UD being consistent with Dirk and, you know, Posey and Antoine. I mean, the list goes on, man. The guys that were making plays for us time and time again, you know, and then game 6, you know, I had a big game 6. Mm-hmm. You know, I just man, blocking shots and rebounding and wreaking havoc, you know, put us back in it.
So I want to go back to the 2006 championship. You went from being an adversary of Shaquille O'Neal, 92 draft, we all came out, epic battles, to now being teammates and ultimately winning the championship.
Right.
How was that relationship? How was that dynamic?
I mean, you developed this brotherly type of relationship, man. We complimented each other tremendously, you know, very grateful for that. You know, I've always said, you know, I'm a strong believer that, you know, we plan our calendar every day, you know, but God guides our steps, you know, and after coming in 92, you know, being adversaries and really, you know, having wars with each other throughout our career, and then finally coming together and being teammates and complimenting each other, you know, during that 2006 run, you know, it was pretty special. It really was. And then more importantly, what put the icing on the cake for me, man, was, you know, him inviting me to bring him into the hall, to sit on stage and bring him into the hall, you know, so that was an incredible compliment, you know, and a statement to me, you know, of what he thought of me and how much he appreciated me. And the feeling is mutual. It truly is, because he truly brought out the best in me, He really did. Yeah, he brought out the best of me, and I think we motivated each other over the years.
The funny part back in the career, when you see this picture, when you see the picture of Jeff Van Gundy holding on your leg, what do you think? What's the first, the first thing that comes to mind? And I'm with Jeff right now, with the Clippers right now. But, every year this picture comes up. When you first see it, what do you think? And Jeff is on your leg.
War. It was obviously comical at that moment. I didn't even feel him down there. I didn't feel him down there. He was like a piece of gum on my shoe, because I was trying to get at Larry. I was trying to get at him, So, hey, man, I blame Pat Riley for that.
Why?
Because he created two monsters, man. He did, man. He left New York. He had already planted the seed of, the intensity level and the fierce defensive approach to the game. He had already planted that seed in that team, in that organization. So, and then he left there, and then he did the same thing in Miami, So these were two Frankensteins. That's what it was. It was two Frankensteins, and we were just going at each other every time we played. That's why the games were so close. That's why the games were so fierce. That's why we knew each other's plays, because everybody we were all running past plays. Yeah, same stuff. We all knew what we were going to do, and let me tell you what, some of these games just came down to the fourth quarter, and it was just fierce battles. I don't think there'll ever be any more intense rivalries like that again, because of the way the game is being played right now. The game isn't played the way we played it back then, So we're not going to have any of those type of fierce rivals like that. That was entertainment at its best. It really was.
It was WWE, WWF, and the game has to evolve and it has to change. But and the last one I wanted to hit on this too was all the memories you had. Defensive Player of the Years. You had the All-Stars. You had the championship. Outside of that, is it from a basketball perspective? What's the biggest take from you out of it? Not the individual awards.
Right. You know what? My growth happened during the playoffs. Because we raised the ante during the playoffs, because that's when you got more out of your guys. The intensity level changed. And you got more out of your guys, so there was more of an expectation of you to produce in the playoffs. It was just an heightened level of intensity and expectation. So my growth happened when the challenge was increased. That's when my growth happened as a player. So I missed that. I missed that challenge, and that's why we found golf as a way to supplement that, because it's a tremendous challenge. It's you against you. It's without the physical punishment, but it's just a mental punishment. It really is. It's you against you.
Okay, and one more thing before I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you this. From a former player to a father who had a son that played and actually played at Georgetown. You see what's happening with LeBron and Bronny. Not to say that the two are parallel, but the expectation level. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. Again, it's a little bit different because of the LeBron still playing with Bronny.
It's a hell of a spot. It's a hell of a spotlight on a young fella, man. It really is.
And how he handled it, but how Bronny handles it is tremendous with all of the stuff that comes with it. He's still an outstanding young man to deal with all the hate, the vitriol that comes with that.
Listen, his family, between his wife's, LeBron's wife, is an amazing mother. She's an amazing mother. I had a chance to spent some time with the family when they were here for 4 years. And LeBron is, he's a stand-up gentleman, and, he's a great father as well, So, Bronny has been taught well, so he's a good kid, Unfortunately, he has to receive this type of pressure. And it's unfortunate that he has to receive this type of pressure, and I hate to see that him go through that. I just, at that point, you really want the kid to enjoy himself, and I hope that's what he's doing. I really do. I hope he's enjoying the game. I hope it's just not, the pressure isn't weighing on him. And it's great that he has his father there to kind of help balance that out, But I wish him nothing but the best. I do. I want to see him do well.
Yeah, I think we do. I think
we all want to
handle
that.
Man.
And it's made tremendous history, man. Come on, man. Who was it? The only other father-son duo was Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah.
I think it might have been done in hockey too. Father and son. I got to look at that. I think it might have been done at hockey. But for basketball perspective, you had father-son, but not playing at the same time.
I think it's great for the game. I do. Yeah. I think it's amazing for the game. I really do. Yeah.
Well, good, man. Hey, listen, man, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I had to get you on to talk about, in particular, the basketball was great, but the health side and what you're doing in OYC. You got the golf tournament coming up with January the 25th,
January
26th.
27th. 27, 26, and 27, yeah.
Okay.
It's my 25th,
so you got that.
My 25th year, 25 years.
Man, we old, bro.
Yeah, who you telling?
Well, good, man. Hey, listen, enjoy it. I appreciate you coming on, man. And bless up, man, and keep doing what you're doing in Miami.
Yeah, man, my pleasure, brother. Thank you, man. God bless you, brother.
Got it. Your favorite segment right here, off the court. Don't be really quick. Don't be resistant to change. That's the problem. I don't care what it is. We get stuck into loving what we love, how we love it, when we love it. It's just like music. I ask people, what's your favorite genre or era of music? And a lot of times they dig back into their childhood. That same thing about sports. Well, you're back in the 80s and 90s, the NBA or football was this. And I say, well, it's nostalgia because that was your time when you were younger that it had an impact on your life. You have memories based around games, music, or whatever it may be, and you want to keep those times close to you. But life is about growth. You got to be open to it. Not all things are great, but all things do need to change. And you need to sometimes change your perspective on what's going on in order to be able to continue to survive, but also to continue to grow. I know change is hard, but it's in front of us. And don't be resistant so much without actually doing your homework on what you're being asked to change. Immediately, a lot of people is like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's not the way we used to do it. Well, if we stay stuck to the way we used to do things, a lot of stuff here in America still be the same. Now, we don't want that. So that's just, for me, ending this year, that if you take a positive thing out of moving into 2025, is that you open up and be less resistant to change and be more open to understanding that the world is going to evolve and move on. Now, whether you want to or not, is going to happen. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.